and we are now live on YouTube. We will start the session in another 2 minutes. We are waiting for 4 o'clock sharp. It's 3:58 right now. So welcome to this absolutely wonderful webinar. With me is Mr. Vivek Atray, ex-IS officer, ex-director education of Haryana, and he will give his perspectives about the new education policy, and we will take you through all the big changes that are going to happen in India. I will request Shikha Sood to please mute herself. Seems to be an echo which is coming. Thank you, Shikha. And to all the parents and teachers, another 1 minute till we start. I think we also have ma'am joining us. Someone is telling me audio is too low, so I hope Dr. Yashwanji, I hope this is fine. Am I okay? Vivek, to you, is my audio okay?
It's a little lower today than usual, but right now it seems better. Just say something again.
What about it now? Tell me.
Yeah,
how's it now?
It's better. It's better now. It's almost fine.
Almost fine is not good enough, so let me come closer. Ruchi ma'am, good afternoon. So lovely to see you. I'm not sure whether she can hear me or not.
No, good afternoon, Ruchi ma'am. I think her audio is...
Ruchi ma'am is saying unable to hear. Ruchi ma'am, you might want to check. There's some 2 participants who've also raised their hands. So I hope I'm audible now, participants.
Yeah, I can hear you, Atul. I can hear you very well. If participants can hear us, cannot hear us, then let us know. Otherwise, we'll go ahead.
Wonderful. So I think it's time to start, and I would wish everyone here a very good afternoon. It's so amazing to be with all of you. I think we're speaking today to people mostly from Himachal, and that's where I live. So it's very close to my heart. So good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, teachers. My name is Atul Khosla, and I'm the Pro-Vice Chancellor and founder of Shulini University, and we're very close to where you are. As a quick background, I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur. I've been working on policy for a very long time. I've worked very closely with several institutions of the Government of India on several issues on policy, and have been following the new education policy very closely for a very long time. Vivek Atray, who's also going to be the speaker of the day, is an ex-IS officer, a motivational speaker, a TEDx speaker, an author of 3 books, which includes Finding Success Within, his latest book, and also a very keen follower of policy. He's also been involved with writing the school policy of Haryana as Director Education when he was there. Now Vivek is a visiting professor at Shulini, and also, like I said, all the different roles that he plays. So with this introduction, I'm going to hand it over to Vivek. Vivek will take us through the philosophy and the contours of the new education policy, how it's going to impact our children, how it's going to impact us as teachers. And I then have a little bit of a technical presentation. Vivek, I will take us through the specifics of the new education policy. But before that, over to you, Vivek.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Atul. I was just going through the salient features again. Atul is organizing along with me these webinars of ideas that matter. And this is a very key webinar. It is very important that we discuss this new education policy. Just to confirm that you can hear us, Ruchi ma'am, just confirm that you can hear us, and we'll carry on anyway. So the new education policy is already announced, and lots of reactions and lots of feedback and lots of suggestions have already come. But the main thing is that we need to understand the fact that a policy needs to be implemented. And if it is implemented, only then it matters to us. Properly implemented, and if it is only in the papers or in the air, then it obviously does not make any difference. So what is the new policy like, and why was it required? Firstly, education in India was focusing more on rote learning, and for many years I have been saying, Atul has been saying, many other educationists and thinkers have been saying that children need to be encouraged to be creative. Creativity needs to be encouraged. For example, you are teaching them about a leaf in a junior school, the parts of a leaf, parts of a plant. Is it not better to be out in the garden and show them leaves and plants as well? Only talking about them in books and actually demonstrating something in practical is something that should be taken up by all schools. And wherever possible, the creative spirit of the children has to be encouraged. And children should be encouraged also to ask questions. These were the things which were lacking. Now, this policy may not have redressed all the balance, but there are many things in this which are useful and some which we need to discuss. So, firstly, in the new education policy, the more important point is that they are laying emphasis on flexibility. It is not as rigid a policy as before. So, flexibility means that a child who has chosen a particular stream is not locked in that stream. That means the child also has, or the student also has, the wherewithal or the opportunity to study another subject along with that. For example, BITS Pilani has been following for many, many years the policy of a dual degree. Tulane University has also been following this policy of a dual degree, another minor subject which you can take along with your major subject. Many US universities and foreign universities have already been following this. Now, in the new education policy, it will be possible for an engineer to study along with engineering a subject like economics or even music or Sanskrit or something like that, which also means that you are being multi-dimensional. So I think the new policy's best asset is the fact that it is allowing people to be multi-dimensional instead of unidimensional. Because when they are unidimensional, that means their thinking is narrow-minded. What happens to a person who is only a physics expert or only a maths expert without understanding what human lives are about, without understanding anything of sociology or history or public administration? Of course, being a specialist at one area is important. But if you add other textures and flavors, then life becomes more balanced and composite. So the emphasis, second emphasis in the policy is also on the liberal arts, on the fact that you can take different kinds of options. And it is encouraging people to go in for arts. Why not? Why not take in different subjects like history, philosophy, sociology, public administration? Now, I am an electronics engineer, so I am not biased in favor of humanities. But I feel that every engineering student needs to understand the liberal arts also. May not be to the extent that a liberal arts student will do full time, but an engineer also needs to undergo. And we did a little bit. I remember in my engineering course, the first year used to be about English, economics, also some kind of public administration, but not enough. So it's very important for us to be balanced all rounders. That is something which is important. You are also aware that in the school system, the 10 plus 2 system will be replaced by the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 format, which means that class 8 plus 3, that means class 11 plus 4, which is the graduation degree. So earlier the graduation degree used to be for 3 years. Now it will be for 4 years. Now internationally for many, many years, colleges abroad or universities abroad have been asking for a 4-year bachelor's degree from Indian students. Only then they should be allowed to take admission there. So BA, for example, is a 3-year degree, but now it is envisaged that instead of the class 12, it will be 11 plus 4, which means it will be a 4-year degree. It is not going to be implemented immediately, obviously. It takes time to transition from one system to another. Somebody is asking a question about when will it be implemented. So I must say that it takes time, and I envisage that it will be implemented in portions and parts. When the government announces that from this particular session, in fact, the state governments may announce in many cases that from the next session or the next to next session or whatever it is, the policy will be implemented. Then degrees like B.Ed are going to be replaced by 4-year bachelor's in education programs. And they're going to become more relevant to education itself. and therefore that whole concept of cramming everything into a short course is not going to be there. Although I feel that the teaching profession even otherwise needs to be encouraged. One important component of the education policy or its implementation has to be that teachers have to be motivated and inspired. Their salary structure also needs to be looked at. I'm sure many teachers will be happy to hear that. But the point is that unless we are attracting the best talent into the teaching line, it is not going to be possible to have a good education system because they are not going to be able to do it. It's very, very difficult then. So another thing is going to be that obviously the students will not be undergoing as many final exam type exams. There will be continuous evaluation. And continuous evaluation is actually a better system. When you are continually evaluated for various things that are happening throughout the year, and also evaluated for your all-round skills, which could be sports, which could be debate, which could be creativity like art or something else, if that is added to your score, then I think that is also going to be very, very welcome. This is another thing that is going to be added. Now, there is another point which junior school students and teachers obviously have to take care of, not to be implemented immediately, which is that preferably they are going to have learning in the mother tongue. Now, that is something which might be a little contentious according to me, but there are definitely studies which say that if you are learning in your mother tongue, then you pick up other subjects faster. Now, these are universal studies of children's education learning. But if you look at it, English is also a vital component of our system. And without English, without English, education systems cannot really in India do as well as they are doing because English is a universal language. So I feel that apart from learning in the mother tongue, there will have to be a lot of learning in English as a subject, at least, so that functional English, conversational English, spoken English, written English, all will have to be part. But if some subjects are taught in the mother tongue, as is envisaged in this new policy, it might be easier for children to learn them. Maybe history, for example, which is to do with Indian history. And if you are learning it in Hindi, perhaps it is easier. I'm not aware because most of us have been English medium students, so we haven't really gone through it. But if they have envisaged this, then there may be something which is going to be, a little more doable. So let's see if they mix and match, and the implementation will obviously be important. The policy is still a policy. It is not an action plan which has been implemented on the ground level. That is something for you to all understand. Another thing they're going to do is to merge several exams. That means competitive exams. That means they're also going to merge certain bodies. That means like UGC, AICTE, the higher level education bodies, they are going to be merged. And speaking of higher education, it is also going to be that higher education is going to become more aligned with careers. Soft skills training, for example, is absent in higher education. And soft skills training is very much required by candidates who pass out of colleges or schools. When they come out, they are not ready because they know their skills, but they don't know how to make a PPT. They don't know how to meet a customer, or they don't know how to interact with even the boss. So these networking skills, personality skills, conversation skills, soft skills, presentation skills, public speaking skills necessarily have to be a part of it. Only then it will be possible for students to be complete all-rounders. Otherwise, they will be unidimensional and they will not be it won't be very, very easy. Also, I think tie-ups with foreign universities will also be taken up by Indian universities. So a lot more tie-ups will be seen. You already see Shulini has a number of tie-ups with foreign universities, but that will actually add to the kind of the flexibility and the kinds of inputs and the international flavor to the education. Another flexibility which is being thought of is obviously the fact that you did a particular course and you could not finish it. You took 1 year off, you can come back to that course later. This kind of flexibility, a kind of credit system through a DigiLocker or whatever it is also going to be thought of. And another thing that you must understand is we are in the era of blended learning. So technology-enabled learning, digital learning will continue. But I always say, Atul and I and all our right-thinking people, if I may say, that classroom learning is also important. Sitting and walking and running and being active with other students is also important. So blend of technology and classroom campus learning will be the future. So these are mainly the main features of the policy. And I feel that, as I said, implementation is more important than just the fact that a policy has been announced. And I've been in the IAS, and as Atul said, I've been director of school education. Now I'm a motivational speaker. I see that there is a gap normally between the policy and the implementation. So let's hope for the best. I'm going to hand it over to Atul for his inputs, and then I'll be back with some more ideas later. Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. As you were speaking and you gave such a wonderful set of thoughts, I was thinking about two big challenges that India has. All of us have, I think, as Indians. The first is around there's so many Indians, so many young children who cannot get quality education. Either the school is not of the right quality, but the worst situation is that children just do not go to school. So that's, I think, one big challenge. The second challenge is, if you really think about how the world is moving, unlike your and my days, skills which are focused around pure knowledge are redundant, which means I want to know, I've learned something. Tables, if you remember, हम बचपन में tables learn किया करते थे, 16 into 12, whatever that learning thing was, that's all redundant because it's all there out there in the computer. Artificial intelligence computers will answer all the questions. In fact, surgeries are now happening using the computer. So the success factors for the future are not going to be knowledge driven items, but are going to be driven around what I call me and we skills. Me skills are ability to communicate, ability to be creative, ability to lead, and we skills are ability to collaborate and work in teams with each other. So these are skills that our children, our students really, really need to have. And if you really look at the new education policy at one hand says we want universalization of education, which means investments in schools, Vivek, are going to go up 3 times from 2% of GDP to 6% of GDP. So hopefully our schools across the country will become better. There'll be better teachers. Teachers will be better trained to make our children much more successful. So I think that's phenomenal. So as taxpayers, expect better schools in the next 10 years, 5 years. I think the second thing is also on the pedagogy, the way teaching happens, and you brought about it, which was in terms of flexibility, multidisciplinary approach, making sure it's learning by doing. So what I'm going to do is I've got a small presentation here, but before that, I'm going to talk about the concept of creativity. So it's creativity that makes people successful nowadays in any field, Vivek. And what I love about the new education policy is that they're talking about bringing creativity, literacy, and numeracy into our children. So they brought in a concept of numeracy, which means children know how to do basic maths. It's not just about learning alphabets, but it's also about learning numbers. And creativity is that they can think independently, they can think logically, and hopefully these things will be absolutely phenomenal for our students going forward. I got a small presentation, if you allow me, Vivek. I'm going to put it together. I won't take much time, but our teachers and parents can go through a little bit of understanding about what the new education policy is. By the way, there's the Shulini campus. We're very proud of it, and we've already implemented, Vivek, most of the recommendations of the new education policy. We've been following this for a while, and we really, really believe in most of the things that the NAP talks about. So, what is the NAP? It's going to replace the old policy that came in 1986. So, this was long due, and hopefully, there are going to be fundamental reforms in school and college education. So, for schools, what's going to be, and I think that's what really matters to most of us, what's going to happen in schools? So Vivek spoke about the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system, replacing the 10 plus 2 system. So the first 5 years is going to be what they call the foundation stage. The foundation stage will be 3 years of pre nursery and grade 1 and 2. No textbooks, Vivek, in the a foundation course. So imagine our children up to grade 2 will not have textbooks. They don't have to rote things anymore. They'll be learning by discovery, learning with the hands, finding new things. There'll be multi-level activities brought into schools, and that's the way they're thinking about it. The second stage is the preparatory stage, which is classes 3, 4, 5, or grade 3, 4, 5. Here there'll be a gradual introduction of textbooks. So I would expect basically by year 5 there'll be more textbooks, but before that they'll be focused more about oral communication skills, learning by doing. Then 6, 7, 8 is going to be the middle stage or middle school. And this is where there'll be introduction to formal subjects of social sciences, languages, mathematics, etc. And finally, the secondary stage, which is 9, 10, 11, 12. And this is really where they will be focused on critical thinking, multidisciplinary learning, and flexibility on electives. But more importantly, there won't be a rigidity between arts and sciences. So students can pick up anything, whether it's arts and sciences. If you do more of arts, you can still study sciences in colleges or vice versa, which we can't do today. So I think that's a very big change, Vivek. That's what's happening. The board exams will be diluted. So they are basically talking about 4 key exams, which will happen either through the schools or through boards. The CBSE and the NCERT are working on it. And NCERT is actually coming up with a model curriculum, as I understand. You already spoke about multilinguality, which basically means there'll be 3 languages that the student can choose between in terms of learning. Could be the mother tongue or the home tongue, or the regional language. So the school can pick up any one of this. Big changes on this, because imagine up to grade 5, what we're teaching in English will not happen in English. What will happen in the regional language or the mother tongue or the home language. And bagless days, I think that's a very big one for students and parents. So definitely up to grade 2, there'll be no textbooks. So big changes happening in school. On college, I think for kids who are getting into college, there'll be one common exam. So you won't have separate NEET and JEE and sabke alag alag exam. So there'll be one common exam that will happen twice a year. So the child can take it anytime, or they can take it again, and they can improve upon the score. There's an introduction of a 4-year bachelor's degree. So if you choose a 4-year bachelor's degree, it'll be by research. और अगर आप 4 साल की बैचलर्स डिग्री करते हो तो आपका जो पीजी होगा वो 1 साल का होगा. So I think it's a great opportunity, Vivek, also for teachers who've done B.Ed. Then they can do their post-graduation and become PGTs by just doing 1 year of post-graduation rather than 2 years. Colleges will become autonomous. They will become multidisciplinary in nature. Good news on fees. So there'll be a fees cap, which means private institutions will not be able to charge at will. And finally, the government is saying, let's make our institutions global. So Indian universities, which are good, like Shulini, will be encouraged to become global universities, and global universities will be encouraged to come in. I've already spoken about this, so I won't take time, but 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is really going to be the big one. The government aspires, Vivek, that 100% of students go to school. So 100% gross enrollment ratio is the term we use. For colleges, we're talking about a 50% gross enrollment ratio. And no separation between academic streams, vocational and extracurricular schemes will be introduced. You've spoken about this. Amazing stuff. And I think the B.Ed degree will go away. It's going to be a 4-year BA education or BSc education program that will come into play. From a college perspective, you'll see. So I'll just take an example of flexibility of programs. If you're doing engineering, for example, you could be a science student doing physics, but you could do a minor in music as an example, or any combination. A student can drop off after 1 year, Vivek, and get a certificate, drop off after 2 years of college and get a diploma, after 3 years get a degree, and after 4 years get a research degree. And the encouragement to come back. So you can have multiple entry and exit points. And I think that's absolutely going to change the way education happens as far as college is concerned. There's going to be flexible curriculum. student only 50% of your curriculum will be actually on the core subject. And students can study from different universities, Vivek. Imagine your child is studying the first 6 months near Kasoli in Shulini, then next 6 months in Punjab University, Chandigarh, next 6 months go to Delhi University, and the last 6 months goes to, let's say, China or the United States to study. And all of this flexibility will come back. There's something called the National Credit Bank, which is being created, which means students can gain credits and then get the credits from any university they seek. There'll be new regulation coming up through the form of a Higher Education Commission of India, new accreditations. I think from a school perspective, there's something that they're calling a State School Standards Authority, which will be created when it comes to making all these changes happen. So I think for schools, this is relevant. We're all struggling with technology. So what they're saying is that there'll be a new forum which will be created, the National Education Technology Forum, and that will provide technology in all regional languages, Vivek. There'll be promotion of multilingualism, which means students can study old Indian languages or modern languages and really, really become successful. So that's really, I think, what's really happening. I'm going to stop over here and I'm going to talk about implementation for a second. And you hinted at that, Vivek. So, uh, teachers and parents, education is actually something that we call a concurrent subject, which means the central government creates the policy, but it's implemented at the state level. This was very similar to the GST, for example, where it was also a concurrent subject. So it will take 1 to 2 years for all states to be aligned. I think from a Himachal perspective, because we have the same party as in the center, Vivek, I would assume that Himachal will be a front runner in implementing the new education policy. I was also speaking to some bureaucrats and they were very, very excited about implementing the new education policy in Himachal. So do expect, I think, in the next 12 to 18 months, some implementation happening on the practical level. Of course, this act is still not enacted. It has to go to parliament. It has to be either through an act of parliament or an ordinance. So I think that has to happen. It's just been approved by the cabinet. But I think if it happens, phenomenal stuff. I am just worried, Vivek, that sometimes implementation, you lose the essence and the philosophy in implementation. Hopefully, our bureaucrats, our technocrats will get the implementation right, and India will really become a great country. Before I close, I want to talk about one fact, and I was writing a small note on this. Till the 12th century, Vivek, India contributed to 25% of the GDP of the world. India was the richest country. We all speak about it. But some amazing things happened as invaders came in. They killed our education system. They killed our university system. And India completely missed the industrial revolution. We completely missed it. So while Europe was actually fundamentally growing, India was not. And we ended up becoming a poor nation. The point I wanted to make is that any great nation cannot become a great nation unless we have a great educational system, a great school system, and a great college system. And if you look at the United States of America, they have amongst the strongest university systems in the world. China today has amongst the strongest university systems after the United States. Many times we don't understand that. China has invested majorly into education, including English speaking education. So I'm very hopeful that hopefully India will progress with the new education policy. We'll have more Taksilas and Nalandas and great education happening. Every student will get educated and will become a world beater. So that is from my side, Vivek. Last thoughts from you, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
I think that was very comprehensive, Atul, and absolutely this is what we know till now. We cannot go into more details like when will it be implemented, how will it be implemented, but we can definitely say, and you rightly said, that it will be implemented better in some places than others.
तो वंशिका, आई थिंक वंशिका मैम कह रही हैं कि कैन वी स्पीक इन हिंदी, सो आप थोड़ा हिंदी में मूव करते हैं, विवेक.
ठीक है. तो हिंदी में भी अगर मैं कहूँ तो यही बात है कि जहाँ पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन मेहनत से होगा, डिलीजेंटली होगा, अच्छी तरह होगा, वहां पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का फायदा होगा. अब अगर पॉलिसी कोई बनती है और इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं होती तो वो हवा में ही रह जाती है. लेकिन इसकी जो मंशा है, जो इसका जो उद्देश्य है पॉलिसी का, वो ये लग रहा है कि कैसे बच्चों को, स्टूडेंट्स को ज्यादा ऑलराउंडर बनाया जाए, क्रिएटिव बनाया जाए, उनकी पर्सनैलिटी ज्यादा कंप्लीट कैसे बनाई जाए। अगर कोई कॉलेज है जो प्योरली साइंस का कॉलेज है, उसमें आर्ट्स भी आ जाता है, एक तो ये होता है कि साइंस के स्टूडेंट्स जब आर्ट्स के स्टूडेंट्स के साथ इंटरेक्ट भी करते हैं तो भी उनकी पर्सनैलिटी डाइवर्सिफाई हो जाती है। और अगर हम दूसरे रीजन से आए हुए लोग, दूसरे बैकग्राउंड से आए हुए लोगों के साथ इंटरेक्ट करते हैं तो भी हमारी पर्सनैलिटी डाइवर्सिफाई होता है। तो ये किसका जो पॉलिसी का सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिट वो लग रहा है मुझे, कि कैसे फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी से, ज्यादा रिजिड ना होके उसको इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाए, तो फिर बच्चों को, स्टूडेंट्स को आने वाले सालों में फायदा होगा। और अगर किसी को ये लग रहा है कि मुश्किल आने वाली है क्योंकि हमें एक चीज की आदत पड़ी हुई है, तो वो तो आदत जो है वो चेंज ज्यादा एकदम से इमीडिएटली नहीं होने वाला है, किसी को एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट नहीं मुझे लगता है इससे होगा। वो जब भी होगा दैट विल बी अ पॉजिटिव डेवलपमेंट। लेकिन ये है कि कुछ चीजें हमें ध्यान से इम्प्लीमेंट करनी चाहिए, सब चीजों को ध्यान में रखते हुए।
So Vivek Sharvi is asking कि बच्चे का चॉइस होगा इंग्लिश में पढ़े या हिंदी में पढ़े, कौन चूज करेगा?
नहीं, जहां तक इस पे तो अतुल और मैंने कहा है, मैंने तो खासतौर पे कहा है कि मैं पूरी तरह से सहमत भी नहीं हूं, लेकिन ये जो एक थ्योरी है कि बच्चे ज्यादा अच्छा स्टडी करते हैं अपनी मदर टंग में, ये इस पॉलिसी में अनाउंस किया गया है। मुझे नहीं लगता कि बच्चे का चॉइस होगा। कुछ स्कूल्स में हिंदी में पढ़ाया जाएगा और कुछ स्कूल्स में इंग्लिश में पढ़ाया जाएगा। ऐसा अगर होगा तो फिर पेरेंट्स का चॉइस ये जरूर होगा कि कौन से स्कूल में उन्होंने एडमिट कराना है, वो तो होगा। लेकिन ये है कि जहां तक हो सके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में अगर फायदा होगा, जैसे मान लीजिए यूपी, राजस्थान, हरियाणा के बच्चे हैं जिनको इंग्लिश में कोई चीज अभी पढ़नी पड़ती है और उनको समझ ही नहीं आती, तो उनको तो फायदा ही होगा हिंदी में पढ़ने में या अपनी मदर टंग में पढ़ने में। तो पेरेंट्स को ये सोचना चाहिए कि जहां तक हो सके वो अपना जुडिशियसली चॉइस लेंगे तो कोई नुकसान नहीं।
So Aman is asking, is there a benefit for class 12 present batch? I think Aman, school के तरीके से तो नहीं. I don't think there's going to any change in as far as the school is the 12th thing is concerned. I think next year, अगर they might, I'm hearing that there might be a common test that might be introduced very early on. अभी हमें नहीं मालूम है, but जो पहले अलग जेई है, नीट है, तो हो सकता है कि वो चला जाए अमन, और there is one common test that comes up for the current 12th batch. I will also say that also choose the right university as you pick up the university, because multidisciplinary universities जो flexible education देती हैं, जो modern है thinking में, उनको choose कीजिए rather than standardized university जो पुराने जमाने में ज़्यादा applicable थी. और how much percentage someone is asking we need in a class 12 for medical. मेडिकल का तो टेस्ट होता है, नीट का टेस्ट होता है. I don't know इस साल क्या होगा. विवेक, are you hearing? Are they going to have it by the test or are they going to do it by the 12th exam? There's a confusion.
I haven't heard this development yet, and in fact, there are some things which are going to be clear in the next few weeks, perhaps. It's just been announced. I know that I've been in the government, so the ripple effect takes some time. I think it will take a couple of more weeks for clarity to come. Some exams have been announced. For example, I believe CLAT has been announced, the UPSC prelims has been announced, but some are still waiting for clarification.
So I think there's a question Sparsh is asking, will percentage still be a major criteria? I think no. Percentage, the focus is not on percentage anymore. Focus learning पे होगा. जो कॉमन टेस्ट भी होगा उसमें भी मैथमेटिक्स और साइंस के क्वेश्चंस नहीं होंगे, बट एप्टीट्यूड के क्वेश्चंस होंगे, लैंग्वेज के क्वेश्चंस होंगे, और लॉजिकल थिंकिंग के क्वेश्चंस होंगे. सो जैसे यूएस यूनिवर्सिटीज में विवेक एडमिशन, द स्कॉलस्टिक एप्टीट्यूड टेस्ट सैट जिसको बोलते हैं, उसमें अगर आपको इंजीनियरिंग में एडमिशन लेना हो तो इंजीनियरिंग के क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछे जाते हैं, बट क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग के क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, लैंग्वेज के क्वेश्चंस होते हैं. एंड आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट द गवर्नमेंट इज थिंकिंग अबाउट. सो बिग चेंज I think for 12th standard students. I think Kritika is asking, please answer my question. Kritika, we've lost your question. So if you can phrase it again, we'll appreciate.
There are some questions in Q&A also.
Let's go there. Yeah, let's pick up the Q&A. Sunidhi is asking, can one do courses related to arts along with medical? Absolutely, Sunidhi. You'll be surprised that you need not have studied MBBS or 12th, medical in a 12th, you could do engineering for example, और उसके बाद आप मेडिकल कर सकते हो. शायद आपको मालूम नहीं होगा, बट यूएसए में आप मेडिकल ग्रेजुएशन के बाद करते हो. And one of my cousins actually did MBBS after doing a arts degree, Vivek. So, so बहुत वो है. Kriti is asking, when will it be introduced? Vivek, you want to pick it up again? When will it be introduced?
Actually, when will things be introduced? You're talking about the policy as a whole. So in my view, certain things might be easier to do than others. For example, if a structural change like 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 is to be made, it will take a little bit of time. But for students who are still in class 6 or 7 or 8, perhaps they will be the ones who will be the first in which this new system will come. And if you talk about studying in the mother tongue from the primary school, that also will take time because teachers have to be recruited, teachers have to be trained. But certain things like common entrance exams and merger of bodies may take place next year, perhaps. So it is going to be implemented in parts.
हाँ, Swati is asking, school में aptitude या other things पढ़ाया जाएगा? Absolutely, Swati ma'am. जितने भी courses होंगे, they'll be driven around languages and aptitude. So aptitude will become very, very important going forward, which we also see. कल को जो jobs हम देखते हैं, बच्चों को जो jobs मिलती हैं, जिसको aptitude होता है, that's really good. Rajesh Bhadwal, who's also at Lawrence School, Sinar, he's asking that teachers are highly qualified and they actually work very hard, but salaries are different in private and government schools. And he's saying, shouldn't they be the same for government and private schools? What do you think, Vivek?
So in this, these are basically larger questions of finance and other things. If government schools, if private schools come under the government purview, then they can be, if they're aided by the government, then obviously the salaries are required to be on par. But there's so many things where private schools cannot have salaries which are at the government levels. So these are things like it's in like the industry. If there is an HDFC bank and there is an SBI, there may be differences in salaries still today. So it is going to be, I think, by and by only that these things can improve.
So someone is asking, if we are in the 8th, will this impact us when we go into the 10th? I
don't think you need to worry. Just go ahead and study. You are in class 8. Don't worry about policies and things. Just जो syllabus 9th में आएगा वो देख लेना. And just 8th में I don't think it's impacting you at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Rajesh is again asking, should we fix Hindi as medium if we are talking about common test? Well, common test I think will be in multiple languages, Rajesh ji. It will be in regional languages, English and Hindi. So I don't think we need to change the medium, but my guess is, and my sense is, that English will continue to be the primary language for higher learning. I don't see Hindi continuing that, but we'll see. I think it depends on how it's implemented. Ria कह रही हैं कि क्या will there be any changes in 2020 batch? Ria, I don't know whether if you're talking about 12th, probably 12th तो आपका same ही रहेगा. But आपका जो entrance test है हो सकता है वो change हो जाए. जो JEE और NEET होता है, that might just become one test. So I think that might be the case. So can we do law after opting for non-med? Absolutely, Kiran. वो तो आप आज भी कर सकते हैं. You can always do law after non-medical. I think that's absolutely right. And Pavani is asking, which class do we choose the subjects? You don't choose subjects anymore, Pavani. You'll study the same subjects. आपको सिर्फ electives choose करने होंगे 11th or 12th में. So that is, I think, a big change. Kriti, should we be prepared for this policy from next year? I think so. I think parts of it, Vivek, will be implemented next year onwards.
Yeah, I think parts of it will be. I think we'll have it implemented in phases. There are some large-scale changes which might not be possible, but I think some changes will come in next year. So should we be prepared is basically, it depends. The whole policy is not going to be thrust upon each individual. So you have to see what your level is and how much you need to be prepared at your level. Only a fraction of the policy will be basically for each type of individual.
So Sunidhi is saying that I'm very interested in MBBS and I'll be appearing for NEET 2020, but also interested in drawing. Absolutely, Sunidhi, आपके medical schools में बिल्कुल ये drawing पढ़ाई जाएगी, और in fact universities like Shulini already हम बच्चों को encourage करते हैं. You can do minors, for example, at Shulini. You can do a major in computer science and do a minor in music or drawing or any other area that you're interested in, and that's going to be a phenomenal thing for students like you. So I'm very impressed by you. Sparsh is asking whether this will impact the economic rate of the country. I think it will. A great country with great knowledge, Vivek, will have a great economic rate. What do you think?
Absolutely. I totally believe that the economic policies depend on the human. I mean, the economy depends on the human wear and how the human beings are taught, how they're educated. So obviously, if a policy succeeds in improving the education system, ultimately the whole country will benefit and people will work better, more professionally, more productively. Then in the long term, it definitely helps.
So anonymous attendee is asking, so do we give JEE 2022 or not? Most probably not. It will be called something else, right? So आप अभी हमें पता नहीं है, but आप please तैयारी बंद मत कीजिए. Continue to study because we don't know, as Vivek said, कितनी देर में implement होगा. But बहुत high chance है कि different test आएगा. So impact on class 10 students, यही है स्नेहा कि you might not have to give different exams for your JEE and NEET. There will be possibly one common exam, and I think in the next 6 months things will be very clear. So my again request to 10th standard, 11th standard students is, अभी तो जो कर रहे हैं continue कीजिए, don't stop studying कि अब नई education policy आ रही है. You continue with your studies the way you do it every day, and hopefully the new education policy will be very good for you. Will there be boards, Vivek? Ashika is asking.
I think there will be some kind of common exams, yes, board-like exams. That's what I feel. That there will be standardized formats and question papers. So it is like a board-like exam, you can say. Yeah.
Right. I think lots of questions ki JEE 2022 hoga ke nahi. So I took the JEE way back in 1989 and I cleared the JEE and I went to IIT Kanpur, Vivek. तो मैं उदित को ये बोलूंगा कि जेई बड़ा अच्छा एग्जाम है. आपने भी शायद जेई दिया होगा विवेक, टू गेट इनटू एनआईटी. तो उदित बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम है जेई. आप तैयारी कीजिए जेई की, एंड आई एम श्योर उससे आपको बहुत बेनिफिट भी होगा. सो डोंट वरी टू मच राइट नाउ.
Don't worry, just do your job.
And JEE is a great exam. I think I love. I was able to clear JEE. I got a rank of 425, All India rank.
Very good.
And that was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of my learning came from preparing for the JEE. I think बहुत सारे JEE के क्वेश्चन हैं. सब बहुत परेशान हैं. I think बच्चे जो हैं वो JEEs में काफी वो हैं. So again, like I said, JEE NEET. अभी आप पढ़ाई कीजिए बच्चों. Parents, teachers. We don't know how the education policy will be implemented. So don't change your focus right now. But there'll be many more colleges coming up. किसी ने मुझसे पूछा, तो अगर गवर्नमेंट इन्वेस्ट करेगी तो बहुत सीट्स बनेंगी. सीट्स इंजीनियरिंग IITs जो होंगे, that's a big one, Vivek. IIT सिर्फ engineering के लिए नहीं रहेंगे. You can study arts in IITs also, so they will become multidisciplinary. हमारे मेडिकल कॉलेजेस जो होंगे वो भी मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी बनेंगे. सो सिर्फ मेडिकल कॉलेज, साइंस कॉलेज, आर्ट कॉलेज नहीं रहेगा. वो हर चीज पढ़ाएगा. साइंस भी पढ़ाएंगे, आर्ट्स भी पढ़ाएंगे, मेडिकल भी पढ़ाएंगे, इंजीनियरिंग भी पढ़ाएंगे. और उसमें जो लर्निंग होगी बच्चों की बहुत जबरदस्त होगी. आई थिंक दैट्स one big thing that's going to happen. So this is a very interesting question. Swati is asking, how can we learn science without physics, chemistry, and bio? If we take drawing or other subjects with
I think what is going to happen is that subjects will become more attuned to the real world. That's what I feel in the long run. Like Atul said, that we had to learn the tables when we were children. Now we don't have to. So understanding science will become more important than learning parts of science which are not. So perhaps the volume of the main subjects will be streamlined accordingly to accommodate these elective subjects and the different subjects which you will take. And learning absolutely will become more focused on what it should be. So I don't worry about the fact that you will have to study all physics, chemistry, bio, as well as do drawing, as well as do this. So the total burden will not, in my view, increase on any student.
So Minakshi is asking whether exams will be online, and I think examinations in the next 24 months will become online, Vivek. Uh, that's a trend that's going to happen. हमारी classes भी काफी सारी online लगनी शुरू करेंगी, यूनिवर्सिटी में भी और स्कूल में भी. तो ये तो ट्रेंड होगा ही होगा. Hopefully corona will go away. Hopefully we won't have corona in the next 1 year. The vaccine is out, but online is one thing that's going to happen. So periodic tests होंगे. Ishpreet is asking, so will there be no? नहीं, periodic tests बहुत होंगे. So बहुत सारे class test होंगे, बहुत सारे periodic test होंगे, but main test नहीं होगा. जो final test आपका होता था, end semester exam या end year exam, वो कम weightage का होगा, और periodic exams continuous evaluation बहुत ज्यादा होगी. Project work के ऊपर ज्यादा ध्यान दिया जाएगा. So you'll be asked to do lot more project work. मेरा ख्याल बच्चों को मजा आएगा, विवेक. It'll be fun.
It'll be good. Actually, it becomes an international kind of norm. And regular tests, but the tests will not be that heavy. So you won't have to really slog for a year, days and days. So they'll more be based on your overall knowledge and what you are rather than what you remember.
Fantastic. और ये जेई पे फिर क्वेश्चन आ रहा है, do we have to give JEE 2022 or not? उदित, आप प्लीज JEE 2022 की तैयारी कीजिए. अभी हमें नहीं पता है कि होगा कि नहीं होगा. अगर आप इंटरेस्टेड हैं तो आप तैयारी कीजिए. अगर आपको सपोर्ट चाहिए तैयारी के लिए तो आई कैन हेल्प यू. लाइक आई सेड, आई हैव क्लियर्ड द JEE. तो बट आई डोंट नो राइट नाउ. बट तैयारी बंद मत कीजिए प्लीज, क्योंकि कुछ नहीं पता अभी.
कुछ तो होगा, ये नहीं होगा तो कुछ और होगा.
कुछ और होगा, तो तैयारी तो आपको करनी ही पड़ेगी. So that's my answer to that. I think we've covered most questions. एक संजय सकलानी का क्वेश्चन है, विवेक, जो थोड़ा एजुकेशन से हटकर है, but let's pick it up. He's saying we are providing fertilizer to our basic crops. Will the crops be able to handle the high concentration of growth boosters like fertilizers? And later we have to return to organic farming.
That's interesting. I think between you and me, we can probably take it up. But basically, in my view, organic farming is the way to be, and too many chemicals are obviously harmful for our systems. And farming without chemicals is definitely better. Organic farming is growing in our country a lot. So be focused on using less fertilizer and chemicals, and you'll do better.
So it's so lovely to speak to students. I think there's some students and there's some parallel chat also happening. So it's so lovely. It doesn't happen in other interactions. So thank you, students. You've kept us very entertained. It's so lovely to meet all of you. I'm going to request Ruchi ma'am to come on online if she's there. And Kriti ma'am is saying that she's very, I don't know whether it's Kriti ma'am or Kriti is a student, but she's very excited about this policy. Absolutely. So we all are very, very excited. Lovely meeting you. And I don't know whether Ruchi ma'am, you're there. If you're there, we'd love to have you on screen. I think we can't see her. So Vivek, any last thoughts to the students and the parents and the teachers?
Yeah, first thought is that don't worry. Don't worry. These changes keep happening. The policies that come have been well thought out largely. There are people who are well-meaning largely, who are experts who have come up with these policies or this policy. So broadly, it will be in the interest of the nation. There may be certain things which are ticklish or which are, require fine-tuning. Don't worry. And as I said, implementation will take time. So nobody is in trouble. That's for sure. So that is my reassurance, which I can give you on behalf of whatever system I represent. And I think we are basically to wait for the benefits of this to come to the younger children who are going to grow into those classes. So you are the ones who are really going to be impacted in a good way by this. So I think Shulini University has already implemented so many of these ideas before the policy came. So that means it's a very forward-looking university anyway. Atul?
Vivek, इसी बात पे एक छोटा सा वीडियो हो जाए Shulini पे. I am very tempted to play a small video on Shulini.
Sure, please do.
Thank you, everyone. That was Shulini. We worked very hard to create a world-class university, and we promise, Vivek, that we will implement the new education policy very seriously and in full intent. I also have to mention that Dr. Dinesh Singh, who's one of the authors of the new education policy, is a distinguished professor at Shulini. He's also the ex-vice chancellor of Delhi University. So he teaches here. He teaches mathematics and data sciences. And Vivek also teaches leadership and management and economics at Shulini. I think these
Absolutely.
were great thoughts, Vivek. I think we've really, really enjoyed, and we've loved speaking to everyone. I think it's time to say goodbye. So over to you, and why don't you say the final goodbye today?
Okay, sure, Atul. Thank you very much for hosting this and always coming up with such bright ideas. It's been great interacting once again. So thank you everyone for joining, and all parents, students, teachers. On behalf of Shulini University, Atul and I, we are really, really happy that you could join. Shikha and Kamal, thank you for all the hard work. And this new education policy, as I said, and Atul also said, there's nothing to worry about. Just be prepared, work hard, and all the basic qualities will always stand you in good stead. So stay connected and stay happy. Thank you.
Absolutely, Vivek. और सबसे important चीज सक्सेस के लिए, and all of you want to be successful, is passion. और एक बड़ा फेमस कोट है शाहरुख खान का ओम शांति ओम मूवी से, जो मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ, इतनी शिद्दत से तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि हर जर्रे ने हमें मिलाने की साजिश की है. तो बच्चों, पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स, work with passion. And if you work with passion, with a dedication, nothing in the world can stop you from achieving your goals. Thank you very much, and meet soon. Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.